Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to welcome everyone this beautiful Sunday afternoon in Grenada. Those who are listening on radio via WeFM, Vibes FM, we've got Spice Capital Radio, we've got 100.5 FM out of Labby in Grenville, we have Right Along out of Brooklyn, New York, and of course we have the NDC Facebook feed, and we're also on YouTube. So welcome to another NDC episode. In studio with me, we have two distinguished ministers of government that we're going to be chatting with. First of all, we have Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas, and thereafter we'll be having the Honorable Joseph Andel. So stay with us, back with you in a moment.
We are at the Sutters Medical, I will use the word complex because we've got the environmental health, we've got the main medical station, we've got the nurses' quarters, and what used to be the maternity ward. This is the one of the stops that we are making today at visiting all of the medical stations, or some of the medical stations in St. Andrew and St. Patrick and St. David. The intention is to make sure that we can quickly ramp up repair, renovation and improvement work on these clinics that we're visiting. We came ourselves to see the condition that the nurses, our citizens, the patients, doctors are working in. The aim is to make sure that all of the various projects that we have, we can galvanize action quickly to start the renovation and improvement of these various sites.
Myself, Prime Minister, Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, and members of the senior management team at the Ministry of Health, just visiting various health centers and medical stations around the country. We have 36 such centers around the country, and we basically want to
get in here, people. Where are we going the 1st of June? This is this Sunday. We are heading across to Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever hosted in St. Andrews. So we're talking from 11 to 3:30 p.m. we will be having lovely cricket. So come out in your numbers to Munich playing field for the biggest cricket tournament ever. Come out and support the bars. Come out and support the cricketers. Come out with your families. Come out with your friends, because we are inside Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat episode for today, Sunday in Grenada. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and in studio with me is Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas. She is the Minister responsible for Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. We'll be chatting with her today on her portfolio. It's been a long time you've been in the Heartbeat. Welcome and good to see you again.
Thank you for having me on the Heartbeat this morning. Pleasant good morning to you, Brother Terry, and to all the listeners out there.
Great. Well, it's good to have you in studio in the Heartbeat. I know it's a long distance for you, a full hour's drive all the way from St. Andrew, but it's good to have you at the studio in St. George's. Your portfolio, tell us something, what has been happening in your area of work and what progress have you made over the last, let's say, a year or two?
Okay. Well, at the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, it has been very busy. Mm-hmm. It's always busy and continue to deliver on our social programs to our people in general. We are currently looking at the upgrading of the seed tool, the tool that we use to measure, to determine if somebody is eligible to receive seed.
Right.
We're in currently in the process of upgrading it. We had a visit from two persons from the World Bank, consultant, who came in 2 weeks ago to help us with the exercise.
I see. And so it's a computerized tool?
Yes, it's a computerized tool.
Okay.
The information that we use to do the current tool, we think is outdated, because information was drawn from the 2011 census and the 2008 poverty survey.
Right.
So that information is outdated. So we see the need to put in more current information so that we get a more relevant results.
Okay.
So in so doing, we think beneficiaries will be better served.
Good.
So more people will be accommodated when they apply.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so to make that exercise a successful one, we had training for the seed officers,
Right.
and that has already taken place. So apart from the training, we also did a sample assessment of the beneficiaries to see how relevant the program is at this point in time.
Right. Now, tell me quickly, who really qualifies for the seed? Because there's a misconception out there that Tom, Dick, and Harry could
Yes.
get onto the seed program.
Right.
So who really qualifies?
The program is one for empowerment, and it is mostly geared to ensure that our children attend school. So young mothers who do not have a job or no form of income, we accommodate them so that they'll be able to send their children to school.
Okay.
And at a point in time, you must graduate from the program. You leave school, you start to work, you could assist the family to take them out of poverty. And that should be the end of it.
Right.
We also have some ageable people on the seed, because when seed was conceptualized, 3 programs were put together to form seed. So we had what we call the elderly program, I don't remember the right name now, but the program where the elderly people used to get their little support.
Benefits,
Yeah. And it was a thinking that this group of people will graduate after a time through death or whatever it is. Children start to work and children will help, so they will be out of the program.
Right.
SEED is not a program that you have to get when you return 60. It is not a pension. It is a program to assist the vulnerable. So even if you turn 60 and you are able to take care of yourself, you have family members, you're living in a household where the income is over a certain amount, you will not qualify for SEED. And when we do the assessment, we look at the head of the household.
Right.
Right. So sometimes the head of the household is working and is earning, like the husband. The wife might be working, but she will say that she needs seed because she's not working. But the husband is working, and the income he's bringing in could take care of the family.
Right.
And we have that kind of a problem where people feel they turn 60, so they must get seed. But we look at the household income. So for example, if we have a family where 3 or 4 of the children are working, when you add the salary up, it is substantial enough to take the family through their bills and their living. The mother will be home, she's not working, but she will not qualify for seed.
All right.
So you say, I am working and I can get seed. I have 65 years and I can get seed. But as a cabinet, we did some adjustment. We upgraded the program a bit, where we included persons who are disabled, persons who are over 65 with no income. We put them in, and people with some chronic illness, we included them.
So the officers are now, the training has been upgraded to recognize and to evaluate properly who really needs to be on the seed program.
Yes,
and
exactly.
it's essentially for vulnerable people.
Exactly.
And to help kids get to school,
school.
transport
Yes.
costs, food, etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So it's not a pension.
No, it's not a pension. It's not a pension.
Great. All right, because this is a major issue indeed all over the country, and people need to understand the program properly and its purpose and intention.
Yeah. We are currently trying to get people out of the long line with the seed program, the beneficiaries. So we have instituted the card program.
Right.
We are doing it by parishes.
Okay.
So for now, we were working mainly with St. George's. St. George's is 90% completed. And then we move to St. Andrew.
Right.
So when the cards are issued, people will go to the bank, to any ATM. You don't have to be the bank of the ATM that issue it, any ATM with the connect sign, to pull out what they need at any point in time. So you don't have to go the same day the money go on the card. You don't have to go the next day, but you have time when you could go, and that take them out of the long line in the sun in front of the revenue office.
Right. So the process is they get what is known as like a debit card.
Yes, a debit card.
And they're shown
Cash
how
card.
to use it.
Yes, we had training when they came in. Those who are visually impaired or think they are not in a position to remember the steps, they have an agent. Just as when you're home and you cannot go for your seed, you have an agent going for it for you in the revenue office. They are allowed to have the agent assist them just the same.
Right.
So I've heard the comments that they're giving these old people a name card and they don't know how to use it, and some of them blind and they can't use it, and so on. But the same blind people getting seed. How do they get it? The agent is the one who work through for them and ensure that the money reach them.
Right.
So it's the same method we use. We use the agent, train the agent just the same, and we get the resources to the people.
So one of the major benefits there is the long lines that, you know, these elderly folks had to go through, you know, in the hot sun, great inconvenience, transport cost, and all these sort of things.
But Terry, I must also admit that in interviewing the beneficiaries on the use of the card, they did say that some of them that they miss.
They miss the line?
No, they miss the interaction.
Yes.
With people who they will look forward to seeing every month in, you know. But everything has a drawback, and I think
definitely
having the card is more of a greater good than the little drawback that was mentioned.
Plus, it's an excellent security measure for them.
Exactly.
You know, they don't have cash in their hand in case the money is lost, or, God forbid, somebody, you know, interferes with them, etc. So there's this protection there with the card, and they can use it for all their shopping needs, etc.
Yes. As a ministry, we also recognize the need for education. And so we've been involved in parenting education over the last month or so, last month and a half. We've been doing a series of sessions in different communities. We look at communities that we think will best benefit from that parenting session. So we had Mikey Life taking the program out in the wider
in the communities?
Wider communities. So we were in Mountain, we were in St. David, we went to St. Mark, we were in River Sally, and we had different facilitators presenting on different topics, and persons came in, listen, ask questions, do the role play, and different things just to ensure that the information was properly brought home. And we saw the need for conducting those sessions because we run into a lot of problems with our youth, as you know. And we have realized that most of the problems that we experience in society by youth deviance and misbehavior is because of lack of parenting. Parents sometimes, they are willing, they want to help the children, but they don't have the skill, they don't have the know-how. So we were trying to see how we could help them acquire some of the skills, some of the knowledge, some of the approaches in raising more productive children, especially the young men. Most of the families that we work with, single mothers, and you know, they struggle. They struggle on a daily basis to get the children to obey them, to follow the orders. And it's a real challenge for some of the mothers. It's not that they don't care, but I think they don't have the right approach.
Absolutely.
So through this parenting program, we think that could help curb youth violence in our society. And we went on to have an award ceremony for the corporate citizens, corporate businesses and citizens who sponsored us with the program. So we had to cover meals, snacks, transportation, and so on, pay the facilitators, and all the costs that went with it. And we had corporate businesses helping sponsor. And so we had a little ceremony for them in Spice Isle Beach during the month of May or early this month, where we recognized about 31 of the sponsors that contribute to that program.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Let's just go back a little bit to the card which you're issuing to the seed recipients. You said you almost completed with the parish of St. George.
Yeah.
Where is your next stop?
St. Andrew.
St. Andrew.
Yeah.
All right, that's a big one.
Yes,
You're doing the entire parish?
The entire parish. The entire parish.
Wow.
And the people are excited. They're anxiously awaiting their turn.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'd have a session maybe in a large room, and then you do the training.
Yeah,
and so forth
we
there.
do the training with them by the constituencies, because the space is a challenge, and then we bring them together. We do the demonstrations, give them a chance to practice, and take it from there. Yes,
That's great. It's
yeah.
upliftment.
It's upliftment, transformation.
Yep, transformation, absolutely.
Yeah.
And age is only a number.
Yes, exactly.
Even though they're past 65, whatever it is, it's good for them to understand what is happening in the world.
Most of the elderly come in, they have their phone too, you know.
Exactly.
They have their phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the other great things that you are doing in the ministry?
Well, the housing.
Yeah.
Housing is a big one.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
That's
and
always been.
we've been responding to burial since the disaster. A lot of work in Carrico was done, and in the north, the other parishes were slightly affected, but they were affected, and we're hoping to conclude the burial response by end of July. End of July, because you must have a window where you operate for response, and then you move on. You can't be responding to a disaster for forever.
Well, of course
yes,
not.
and what we recognize is that we need to go back to the regular housing program, because a lot of people are on the waiting list and they are waiting. We had to set that program aside a bit to focus on the burial response.
Right.
Yes. So although some persons receive housing whilst we were doing the response, we were mainly focusing on burial response. So we want to conclude the burial response by the end of July, so we could continue with the regular housing program. And we've been doing quite a lot. The MIT, Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, was assisting us in that area. But once we conclude the burial response, MIT should be stepping out of house building if they build any houses for people to pay for it. Yes. Yeah, they only came in to assist because of the burial impact and the response. Yeah. So once we conclude the burial response, MIT should be out of the PTF for housing. Yeah, that is the plan.
Okay, that's great. I know social issues always be very challenging, but how is your ministry coping with the needs of the community?
Well, we're coping to the best of our ability. I know a lot of persons out there feel we should be doing more, and they're demanding more, but it is not realistic. Some of the demands are not realistic. And we have to let people know that our ministry is a ministry that gives us support, and we're not there to take charge of people's situation and do it for them. It is not possible. The resources will not allow that. So for example, a young woman will come in, she may have 3 or 4 children, she's not working, and so on. Sometimes they come and say they are thrown out from home or from the boyfriend place. We look at what we call transition assistance, 3 months rent. Is on a transition basis. You must have an exit plan. So within these 3 months, we had to find that person a job. We had to help them find a job.
Yeah.
They must have a skill that they could utilize. If it's not a job, it's to get themselves into some kind of entrepreneurial activity and start earning something so that they can transition
That's right.
out of the situation.
Even if it's a barbecue grill or popcorn machine or something,
Right
but
now I'm trying
got
to
do
get
something.
a sewing machine and some material for a young lady. She has a CVQ in that area, and she's interested in assisting herself in moving forward, and we'll give that support.
Great.
So we're more about providing support and showing people how they can empower themselves.
Right.
It's more about empowerment. This handout, forever handout, we have to go beyond that. We have to go past that. Yes, at some point in time, you will have to give something, but you can make it the way of life.
Exactly.
You cannot make it the way of life. It is not possible.
And
Country
people want to feel independent too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sense of satisfaction, that sense of achievement. We have to try to get people to get to that place where they want to do for themselves and show them how they could do for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely so indeed. This is why, I mean, the policy position of the government on training, skills training, is so vital.
Exactly.
Because especially among our young men, you know, the skills, or the lack of skills has been quite a setback for the country.
That came out clearly after the burial response.
Yeah.
We were looking for contractors to do small houses, and we were not getting contractors.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we hire people, they say they could build, and when you see what they build, it's a disaster, next disaster. You know, so we really need to get our people, especially our young men, upgraded with skills.
Yes.
Because some of them, they've been around construction as a helper, but they have not acquired the skill to go on their own.
Right.
You know, and that is a challenge for us. So we're providing the opportunity for them to upgrade their skill. Mr. Noel, who is a technical officer within our ministry, had a few sessions with persons who indicated that they was interested in building for us after burial. And I think that has helped a bit, you know, in giving them some basic in terms of what we expected as standard for housing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I am happy that the government has taken this on as a policy position of the government of Grenada, because for too long we have been issuing licenses for people to come in to do stuff that can be handled by Grenadians. But the lack of training over the years, lack of skills training, has really, really hampered the development of the nation. So
even
that's
for
great.
people to drive heavy equipment, we were lacking there, you know.
Well, again, that decision to reduce the age for driving heavy equipment, this has been a major transformation in itself, and provided lots of opportunities for young people to advance themselves. Great.
A big one for us is the community development aspect of the ministry, because before our administration came into power, the community development division was closed down.
Wow.
It was closed down. So things like community training and skills development, there was no avenue for that.
Right.
We have re-established community skills training, and also small infrastructural works. You know, the big one is for the Ministry of Infrastructure. But a little footpath, a little drain, a little culvert clearance and whatnot. We do that from our Ministry Community Development Division. Even the solar lighting started with community development. Well, MIT is now doing some of it, or most of it. But as I said in the town hall the last time, the lighting of St. Andrew, the big parish, started with community development, the solar lights. We introduced that to St. Andrew.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And all that's part of community development, physical development, and so on.
I see Munich playing field now has lighting.
Yes.
I was up there last Sunday to see the kickoff of the T12 cricket match.
Yes,
and it was
a few of our
really,
playing
really
fields,
great.
I know it. Yeah. Some were done through Ministry of Youth and Sports, and some were done through community development.
Fantastic. On that note, let me just remind the folks out in St. Andrew, Munich in particular, is that the cricket match continues this afternoon. So go on out to the Munich playing field and participate, watch good cricket, and bring out the family and have some fun out in Munich playing field. Great. Okay, so are there any other matters you wish to?
Tuesday and Wednesday this week, we'll be hosting a high-level policy dialogue on disability, inclusion rights, protection, and state responsibility. And this will be held at the Radisson Ballroom from 9 to 5. The event will be held under the theme Advancing Equity and Dignity, Strengthening Disability Inclusion in Grenada Development Frameworks. And there will be key presentations, there will be focus groups discussion, there will be open forum, and we're hoping that through this today's discussion, we will come up with a call for action, a roadmap of recommendations with timelines and responsibility to guide implementation and the Disability Inclusion Access National Framework. So we're working to come up with that framework, and through that two-day consultation, we hope that will be a reality.
Okay, so that you said Monday and Tuesday of this week?
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday of this week.
Yeah, yes.
And who are invited to this?
Well, permanent secretaries, ministries, persons with an interest with the disability, persons who work with children with disability, people who interact with people with disabilities, persons who have family members with disabilities, Grenada National Council for the Disabled, and all who has a stake in seeing that the disability community is properly looked after and recognized here in Grenada.
Great, fantastic. Well, this sounds like a great event that will benefit a lot of folks, especially in this disability community.
We want a broad cross-section of the Grenadian public to come out and be part of it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Well, are there any closing comments you wish to share?
Well, I just want to say to the public that the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs is committed to ensuring that the needs of our Grenadian people are addressed to the best of our ability based on the resources that we have. We are there at the Ministry of Social, main ministry is 440-2269. You could always call if you have a concern. You could always call if you have some suggestion. You can always call if you have something to share with us.
Great.
Yes,
fantastic.
Because we listen to everyone and we try as best possible to meet the needs of the people that we serve. Our ministry is one that look after people from the cradle to the grave. Yes. So we really have it full at this ministry.
And in addition to your responsibility within the ministry, you have recently been elected chairman of the party.
Yes.
How is that going?
Oh, that is going so good. We are now looking at our work program where we do some modification and some revision. And this is important to revise because, you know, the whole political landscape is changing, and we have to be sure that we are proactive and we are ready to deal with all the changing realities in that area. So we are well on our way, and we recognize that our membership is growing, especially the young people coming over, because prior to election they were told that they will be sent home, they will vote out their work, they won't get no upgrade, and so on. And now that they realize that what was told to them is not truth, they recognize that they got increase through the minimum wage move. They realize that some of them they have already gotten permanent, and most of the promises that was made to them have been realized, and so they realize it's not pie in the sky, but pie on the plate.
Wow.
And now we see that our membership is growing, especially among the young people.
Well,
so things are really looking up for the party,
fantastic.
And I'm happy to be the chairman at this point in time.
Well, and you're standing tall in the process.
Yes, I'm standing tall in the process.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much, Senator, for being part of the Heartbeat today, and look forward in seeing you again very soon.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, thank you. So we'll be back with you in a moment when we will be chatting with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, the Honorable Joseph Andel. So back in a moment.
Get in here, get in here, get in here, people. Where are we going the 1st of June? This is this Sunday. We are heading across to Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever hosted in St. Andrews. So we're talking from 11 to 3:30 p.m. we will be having lovely cricket. So come out in your numbers to Munich playing field for the biggest cricket tournament ever. Come out and support the bars. Come out and support the cricketers. Come out with your families. Come out with your friends, because we are inside Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever.
On the behalf of Supreme Entertainment, we'd like to invite everyone to the opening of the Munich T12 cricket competition. It started on Sunday, May 25th, and continues every Sunday until August.
Motorists travelling along the Grand Etang route are welcoming the government's ongoing road widening and drainage project, which addresses long-standing issues such as narrow corners and poor visibility. The project comes in response to damage caused by Hurricane Beryl in July 2024, which brought down trees and utility poles. Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Kevin Blash, during a recent interview indicated that the project was designed to improve the Grand Etang Road after devastation by Beryl. Blash confirmed that the work is ongoing and includes plans to widen bridges and corridors, ultimately allowing for two-lane traffic throughout the route.
Another piece of the puzzle is to widen some of those very narrow bridges over the Grand Etang Road. To the persons who are familiar, who pass there probably once, twice a day, they would know some of those very tight bridges. For example, there is one just as you leave close to the Grand Etang Lake. There's one that you could see some of the cobalts have fell down there. There's another one close to St. Margaret's Falls. There is one very close to, or just as you leave Birch Grove. And then there's another one a little bit further down in Birch Grove, close to a place where a few years ago Smoko used to have a shop. So all of these things, it makes it a little difficult for drivers, tricky for trucks and so on. So it's really that's just some of the plans we have for the Grand Etang Road in particular.
During a site visit on Monday, our news team observed work being carried out on a sharp corner between the area known as 1910 and the Grand Etang House, one of the most critical sections identified for widening. Drivers expressed their appreciation for the improvements, noting that the increased visibility and ease of access have already made travel safer and more convenient.
I think that's a wonderful project, and it's good for pedestrians, and as a matter of fact, it's better for the traffic, and I think that should have been done long since in the NMP regime, and since this new Prime Minister coming, I think he's doing a lot of good things for the country, and I appreciate the road and stuff like this.
Now, well, I believe that the widening of the road was much needed. I think that it is very good for motorists. it makes the passageway a lot more easier to maneuver. The corners was a bit tricky to work out as a motorist, you know. So I don't pass this road very often, but whenever I do pass here, I have to use a little bit extra caution, you know. But the widening of the road now, I think, is a much needed project, overdue, and I appreciate it very much.
The long-anticipated asphalting of the Grand Etang roadway in areas where the road widening and drains have completed has also commenced. The initiative is being seen as a significant step forward in enhancing infrastructure and ensuring safer travels for all road users. For MTV News, Troy Gill.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat for today's Sunday. We were chatting earlier on with Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas, and now we have the Honorable Joseph Handel. He's the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development. Welcome to the Heartbeat once again, Minister. It's a pleasure always to have you.
Good afternoon, Terry. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here, and good afternoon to all of your listeners and viewers.
Great, fantastic. I want to start off, first of all, with a matter which was very vexing for a lot of Grenadians. And the issue regarding the boat Mary G, that unfortunately lost engine mobility and found its way out in Margarita, Venezuela. Tell us what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had to do in order to get this boat and the citizens of Grenada who were on the boat back home safe and sound.
Well, as soon as we found out about the situation of that boat, which was a couple of days, in fact, after the saga began, we immediately got in touch with the Venezuelan authorities, with Ambassador Jorge Guerrero, who is based here, with the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, and ultimately the Foreign Minister himself. So as you correctly said, the boat developed some engine problems, drifted into Venezuelan waters, was escorted into the port of Pampatar in Margarita. There were some attempts by the authorities there to impose some charges. I don't know whether you could call them fines, fees, charges, whatever it was, totaling 1 year converted to probably close to 200,000 EC dollars.
Wow. But
eventually, through the intervention of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Grenada, we were able to work out that the boat was eventually released without having to pay any fees or charges. And they were allowed to leave eventually. And I think they got home sometime in the very early hours of yesterday morning. I've been in touch with the captain of the boat from the time I found out about the incident. And they're very happy. They're just happy to be back home, and as are the rest of us in Grenada.
Well, fantastic indeed. Well, congratulations to you, Minister, and to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for intervening in what was then a very vexing matter. Yeah. But we do have a very good working relationship with Venezuela.
Yeah, and you know, it's the responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to look after the interests of Grenada and Grenadians, especially if you find yourself into any form of trouble or problems outside of our national jurisdiction. I think one of the important things coming out of this is that we need to ensure that we have mechanisms in place, not just between Grenada and Venezuela, but among all the countries who share the Caribbean Sea, to ensure that when citizens of whichever country end up accidentally in the territorial waters of another, that the mechanisms are in place to deal with the matter expeditiously, so that people do not have to go through any undue degree of stress or anxiety. Given the proximity of all of the countries in this area, it's just a matter of time before something like that happens again. Yep. Today it was Grenada, tomorrow might be Trinidad or St. Vincent, or even a Venezuelan vessel straying accidentally into the waters of another country, and we do not want our citizens to be going through any unnecessary ordeals. But the important thing is that it was resolved, and we're happy to have everybody back home safe and sound.
Fantastic, and it was of a great advantage that our Minister of Foreign Affairs is very fluent in Spanish, so I'm sure that came in very handy.
It is always good when you can speak somebody else's language. It shows that you have made the effort to know a bit about them, and I think people do appreciate when you can reach them in a language that they understand, even though there may be another medium through which you can communicate, but there's always a plus.
Absolutely, wonderful indeed. Well, tell us, Minister, how are things within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development? Give us an update as to what's been going on.
Well, we have been extremely busy. I mean, I was about to say over the past few months, but we've been extremely busy since I've been in office almost 3 years now. And we continue to work hard and well to represent Grenada's interests, to promote what we do, what we produce, to try to create opportunities or strengthen those that already exist for our manufacturers or exporters.
Right.
And we're talking not just traditional exporters, but those in the intellectual and creative spaces to have their work be out there on display for the rest of the world to take note of and to monetize.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I know that you have attended a number of meetings outside of Grenada, which of course is within your portfolio. You care to report on any of these?
Yes, so I think the one with China, in fact, I believe a few months ago when we came back from China, I did report on that one. And since then, we have signed an additional memorandum with the People's Republic of China. In fact, that was within the last 2 weeks, where resources totaling in excess of $13 million were pledged to Grenada, in addition to the over 13 million that we were able to secure when Prime Minister and I visited in January.
Right.
We have also been able to negotiate to get scholarships from a number of countries for Grenadian students in the upcoming years. We have been talking with other partners to at least provide some short-term relief for the acute shortage of medical specialists that we have in a number of areas. So our efforts have been bearing fruit, and we will continue to engage with the rest of the world. If you're not at the table, you won't eat. So we
Very simple.
Yes, we have to keep engaging the rest of the world, because that is the only way that we'll be able to promote and defend our interests and build the necessary relationships that will come in, that have been coming in handy for us, particularly given the ever-changing, volatile, unpredictable times that we live in right now.
Absolutely, very challenging indeed.
Extremely so, yeah.
And you attended a conference, ACTIF. You want to explain to us what this was about?
Good. So about 2 years ago, Prime Minister and I, Prime Minister led a delegation to the Bahamas, where the ACTIF, that acronym really is Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which is something that was initiated by the Afrexim Bank.
Right.
And that proved to be an extremely fruitful visit in terms of the links that we were able to establish. So Grenada will be hosting the next version of ACTIF, which will take place here on the 28th and 29th of July, I believe. I think I misspoke. I left it at 0 the other night. But we are expecting between 800 and 1,000 visitors, mainly from the African continent, but also from other parts of the world, you know, to come here and to, again, to network, to create links, to see how people can exploit opportunities that exist in different economic fields. So we are very happy to be hosting that forum. That will be a big boost for the image of Grenada. It will also give a nice little fillip to the tourism sector, coming as it is in the so-called dead season. Yep. So there will also be an expo component to it. And a number of countries, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, among others, are showing great interest in participating in that expo. We expect that our local manufacturers and producers will also have their goods and their wares on display. So all in all, we think it's going to be a very big boost for Grenada, and we're looking forward to hosting all of our visitors in July.
Absolutely. You're talking about 800 to about 1,000 visitors?
Yes.
That's a
lot.
That's a lot of people for a small hotel sector.
Yeah, that's close to 1% of our population.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That makes a big difference. I mean,
Very much
okay,
so.
in a large country, that's just a drop in the bucket. Yeah, I mean, probably one hotel can accommodate everybody in big countries.
Yes,
But,
indeed.
great.
It's
Well,
good.
that's great. And who is spearheading the organizing, and all the planning and so forth? Is it the ministry?
So there
or
is a multi-sectoral committee in place to deal with that. The Prime Minister's Ministry, Ministry of Planning and Economic Development, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Ambassador Richard Nixon, and a host of other people, including those in the creative space,
Great.
are part of that committee to ensure that everything goes smoothly, right? Apart from the accommodation, we mentioned the expo. People will want to sample what we have in Grenada, so the restaurant sector will benefit, transportation, everything. It will have really great spin-off effects, and that is why we are extremely happy to be hosting this version of Active.
All right, wonderful. All right, well, before we get into your constituency and constituency matters and so forth, you want to tell us how is the housing situation out in your constituency? Housing seems to be a national issue, a national problem with, for lots of persons.
Yes, so I'll get into that shortly, but I just wanted to mention one or two little things that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in particular, recognizing our limited resources, but at the same time, our need to have our presence felt in as many different capitals as possible. We have begun the process of expanding the number of countries to which our embassies or ambassadors are accredited. So Cabinet recently approved the expansion of the reach of our Beijing mission to take in Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and there is one other country which doesn't come to mind immediately. Very soon we'll be having an honorary consul in Japan. We have one in Barbados, or he's just waiting on an appointment to present his credentials to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Barbados before he can begin official duties, but he has already begun assisting Grenadians in Barbados. Our goal is to ensure that in every Caribbean capital, we have someone who can represent the interests of Grenada, who can lend a hand of assistance in the event that such is needed. Very often we take for granted that because we live in a very close-knit area in the Caribbean, that we don't need those services, but we do, and so we are actively pursuing that option.
Fantastic.
We have also added some more responsibility to our Havana mission, where Zimbabwe and a couple of other countries, Uruguay, and two more that don't come readily to mind, one in South America, another in Africa. Our UK mission will also take on added responsibility. Of course, the ambassador will be non-resident except for the country that he or she is stationed in. There will be a change soon at our UN mission. Ambassador and Permanent Representative Che Philip has decided to move on to other endeavors, and I wish to take this opportunity to thank him publicly for the stellar job that he has done at the UN for the couple of years he has been there. He will be replaced shortly by Miss Ingrid Jackson. Ms. Jackson is a young lady from the Fontenoy area, and I think that she's well known in Grenadian circles. She's a businesswoman. She's into the religious sphere as well. And so we expect that she'll continue to fly the flag high at the UN and to do what is necessary to make the contacts that we need and to promote the interests and the name and image of Grenada in a positive light.
fantastic. Well, you've certainly been very busy over the last couple of years.
Yes. We always have to keep looking at ways to take the game to another level.
Yeah.
Now, regarding housing, you correctly identified it as one of the most pressing issues facing our country. And I'm not sure if Minister Gloria Thomas was able to touch on that as she was here before me. But it is something that we need to find a way to address without bankrupting the country, while looking after those who are least able to take care of themselves. And recently we had a one-day high-level retreat to deal with that matter. We had some financial institutions represented, Project 500, the Ministry of Housing, the Housing Authority, and the entire cabinet.
All right.
We are going to continue exploring avenues to ensure that the housing situation in Grenada is addressed in a manner that provides decent, affordable housing to Grenadians with different options. The housing situation in St. Patrick is dire. There is no two ways about it. And you may not know it until and unless you start walking around the villages, visiting people, and it can be very, very heartbreaking to see the conditions under which people have to live. So we have been trying our best in St. Patrick West to address that situation, which was exacerbated by the passage of Hurricane Beryl 1 year ago today, I believe.
Yes.
Or was it the first? No, it was the first.
Between the 31st and the 1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have been working along with the Ministry of Housing, as well as the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, to find short and medium-term solutions to that problem. We have been able to build, as far as I understand, close to 100 new homes, but that is still just a drop in the bucket. One of the encouraging signs is that lately people have been coming to me expressing their willingness to pay for the house, and not just I want a free house, but I'm willing to pay. Some have even said that they're prepared to do a salary deduction, and I would encourage more and more people to exercise this option, for the simple reason being that the resources are finite. The budget can support only so many free houses or free repairs. And if people are willing to pay back something, at the very least, it will not be putting a strain on the public purse, because there's the perception that it is free. Really, somebody's paying for it.
Oh yeah,
somebody's paying for it. And we are encouraging those who have a job, especially those who are earning, I believe the threshold is about $1,800, to take advantage of the opportunities presented by the Housing Authority and by the Ministry of Housing, housing program, to get your house built, and you repay a modest sum on a monthly basis. That not only gives you a house, but it provides the opportunity for other people down the road, because the fund is being replenished, to also have something for themselves. So we have been working with it. The demand is so great, however, that keeping up with it, really and truly is not possible to keep up with the demand for so-called free housing. But we are giving it our best shot. We try to prioritize. There are some situations that, although all of them are bad, some that are really, really worse than others, and we have to try to prioritize them. Yeah,
absolutely. So indeed, it's
it's
a problem that is really going to take quite a lot of resources, etc., to get
resources and creativity also.
Lots of it, absolutely.
And while we're on this topic, I just wish to give a little progress report on the 5 homes that were destroyed a year and a bit ago by fire in Chantamel.
Right.
The response by corporate Grenada and by ordinary citizens including those in the diaspora, and even people and organizations outside of Grenada who do not have blood links to Grenada. That response, that support has been really, really encouraging and heartwarming.
Absolutely.
So I know in previous times that I've called some names of companies and individuals that have contributed.
Right.
So again, at the risk of forgetting some who have made recent contributions, I would still stick my neck out and say a public thank you to LA Purcell, who have been among the more recent donors to that cause.
Great.
Creative House. There is another one that made quite a significant contribution.
Hubbards and
Well, yeah, Hubbards and Huggins, all of those L&M Industries, they were there. The roofing place in Wester Hall.
Okay, right.
Shelter Solutions, right. Co-op Bank itself. And there's another one that made quite a significant contribution. I will hopefully get back to it before the end of the program, but I wish to say thank you very much to each and every one of you. And keep it flowing. We are getting close to the finish line. When I passed there yesterday or Friday, when I passed through Chantimel on Friday, 2 of the houses are already covered. One of them is plastered on the inside. The other 2 are blocked up and waiting to be covered. And the ironic thing is that the very first house that we began is the one lagging behind, for the reason that we had started, a company had donated some 8-inch blocks for that house.
Right.
And then they went out of production. And it took us quite a while before we could find somebody else doing the 8-inch blocks. But we are now starting to receive the 8-inch blocks. So very soon that house will be catching up with the others. And speaking with the site manager on Friday, he believes that realistically, once we don't encounter any mishap, that he believes that by September we should be in a position to hand over the keys and so on. So I think everybody, particularly the homeowners, are really looking forward to that moment. And in my acknowledgements, the minister was here just before me in this seat. I know I will be calling on her again, so let me publicly say thank you to Minister Gloria Thomas for piloting a submission in Cabinet to provide some timely and much needed financing for that project. Thank you, Minister Thomas, and your team at the Ministry of Housing and Community Development. We do appreciate it.
Great. Well, as she would say, she's the one who started housing. MIT is now helping out. Anyhow, how are things going in St. Patrick West?
Well, always room for improvement, but I think that we are doing well. Internally, in terms of the organizational work, we have taken some steps to strengthen the polling division, and I'm very heartened by the interest being shown in the party, and that a number of people are registering to join the NDC St. Patrick West branch.
Great.
And to work with us. We continue to traverse the constituency village by village, and we are quite confident that we are building a strong fighting machine in St. Patrick West. And I'm throwing out the call to those of you who have a contribution to make towards building not only the party, but building the country, that when you consider all that has been done in 3 years, just imagine how much more can be done if we have more soldiers on board committed to the task of transforming our beautiful country, not only for our immediate benefit, but for those who will inhabit the rock long after we'll have passed on.
Absolutely, so indeed. Well, time is quickly catching up with us, so let me invite you, therefore, to give whatever closing comments and so forth you wish to share.
Yeah, so we'll be having our annual St. Patrick East and West. We'll be doing our annual cruise on the 14th, Saturday the 14th of July. The tickets, as usual, are going fast. They are going fast, so please make sure that you get one. You can get from me or from any other member of the branch, or you can contact your constituency, your NDC constituency rep, if you would like to get a ticket or two. Now, we have also engaged in a number of projects at uplifting the standard of living in the communities.
Right.
And of late, we've been paying a lot of attention to the community of Davie, Prospect, Mount Williams, which make up polling division 7 in my constituency. So a couple of years ago, we started with lighting the road leading to the beach.
Yeah.
And we have now completed that project.
Great.
We undertook a massive cleanup project on the beach itself and nearby, with the permission of the private landowners there. We were able to remove quite a lot of the debris that had accumulated there over the years. So if you go there now, it's vastly improved from what it was like just 2 months ago.
Wow.
All right, we continue to do some more work there. We have extended the concrete strip further down, so driving down that hill is no longer the challenge that it used to be.
Fantastic.
So we have the lights, the extension of the road. Safety, not only for bathers and picnickers, but also for the fishers. That too has also been enhanced. We have recently, as last week, erected a small guard hut, and there will be around-the-clock security in that area, so that the boats, the engines, and equipment of the fishers and other people who use that area will now be a lot more secure.
All right, great.
We are, again, in the process of constructing over 700 feet of concrete road in another area of that village, Davie. It doesn't have an official name, but there's a lady named Sandy who lives there, so we're calling it Sandy Road. Yeah. We have the access bridge on the Duquesne end.
Yeah.
We have done some major repairs to that bridge, and it is a hope that down the road, that double bridge will be replaced with, a single span, two-lane bridge, but that is down the road. We have also made it safer for pedestrians using that bridge by installing some guardrails there.
Right.
Very soon, another little hamlet in that constituency, a place called Ludgate. The road there should be greatly improved over the next couple of weeks. There is a corner right around by the little Roman Catholic chapel there that is extremely hazardous and difficult to maneuver. So we are looking to expand that corner and to make the angle a little bit more navigable and to do some greatly needed maintenance road.
Well, you almost want to compete with the works done in Granite Tank, then.
But it's important. And, people might say, why is Andal focusing on those areas that not very many people live in? And it's for that very reason, because, Terry, over the years, those little communities have been neglected simply because of political expediency. Politicians would look at them and say, oh, there are only 10 houses and there are only 15 houses. How many votes can I get in there? And they would just decide to focus on those where they believe they will get greater political dividend. But my approach is different. I'm not a overly religious person or anything like that. I can't quote scripture and verse. But I always remember that the lesson from that verse which says, whatever you do for the least among you, that is what you have done
for me,
for the Most High, right? Yeah. And so for those who have been neglected for eons, I see it as a personal responsibility to make sure that they are no longer left behind,
right,
and that they're brought into the mainstream and made to feel appreciated. They pay taxes just like the rest of us, and they should not be left to fend totally for themselves.
Right.
The state has a responsibility to provide basic infrastructure for people regardless of where they live. And so I have taken it on as a personal task to ensure that the Davies, the Redmuds, the Cannings up inside Snell, all those little villages that have been forgotten for long, that they get some much needed attention.
Well, you certainly will be remembered.
Well, if it comes that way, so be it. But my real thing is just to make sure that the people enjoy a level of living that is befitting of human beings in the 21st century.
And these efforts, of course, would probably most likely encourage further development taking place in these communities, new homes and that sort of thing.
In fact, the little area where we did the first pedestrian bridge about two years ago, there is an old sugar mill there. And there are people who remember getting molasses and sugar from that mill. And one of my visions is to ensure that there is some restoration, not only of that mill, but there are many like it in other parts of the constituency. If you go into Montcreven and so on, you'd see all of the stoneworks there. And if we can rehabilitate some of those,
absolutely,
then that can provide a major boost to
tourism attraction
in that area there, create some economic opportunities for the residents. And so we are working assiduously towards bringing some of those things into reality.
Fantastic, because I think somewhere in the Black Bay area where that river comes underneath that bridge, I think history would show that boats used to go up that river in order to collect produce and that sort of thing. And there's an old building in the corner there that used to be the trading post. With the bigger ships outside, the small boats used to come up the river, collect the produce, and go back and offload onto the big ships back to the motherland, England. So we have a lot of these buildings that really do need restoration work and bring them back to life and to really help.
So again, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the thrusts of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There are many, many countries that have become well-versed in restoration work, countries such as Egypt, Colombia, and we are actively having dialogue with them with a view towards their assisting us in restoring many of these historical relics and finding ways to monetize them, to add a new element to the economy and to the culture of our country.
Fantastic. I mean, the fort now in St. George is looking beautiful with the restoration works taking place there. It's looking excellent.
And you know, sometimes you have to smile, Terry, because so much has been done in such a short time
space of
that
time.
it might appear to some people that we have been in office forever, especially when you compare it to previous periods. When you drive through St. Patrick nowadays, Terry, we don't patch holes. We don't caulk holes. We resurface
I noticed.
swaths of road, so you do not get a bumpy drive. What I do when people visit foreign dignitaries, as much as possible, I try to meet with them in my constituency. There are things that I must do from my office in St. George's. But once there's a possibility of hosting them in St. Patrick, I invite them to go up to St. Patrick. And so many people, especially from other Caribbean countries, are surprised at the quality of the roads, the surface. That doesn't mean to say that we do not have a lot more work to do. That same road from Duquesne, going through Prospect Davie into Sautez, some patches of it are very good, especially when you leave Duquesne up to just before you get to Pitians. It's pretty good. But between Pitians and Sautez, well, not Sautez, but Mount Rodney, it's really, really terrible. So we still have some areas that need some serious work. But all in all, we have been doing really well in terms of keeping the road surfaces nicely paved. We are currently widening a pretty long stretch of road in the Mali area by going further out and by replacing some of the box drains with slipper drains. So if you go through Marley, if you go through Snell Hall and many other areas, you'll see that you have an extra few feet on either side of the road, therefore making it a lot more comfortable and a lot safer.
So would it be true to say, therefore, that representatives are trying to compete with the works taking place in Granatang?
No,
all that you mentioned.
No, we're not in competition with anybody. What we're trying to do is to provide the type of services that the people of St. Patrick need and deserve. And while there is still a whole lot more to be done, I believe that in 3 years we have begun to make a dent, and every sector is feeling it. Yeah, we recently were able to ensure that the IT lab in McDonald College is well equipped.
Yeah.
Very soon we'll be setting up a center for excellence in Chantemelle. It will be based at the Chantemelle School. We have recently refurbished and reopened the Chantemelle Community Center. We had an agreement signed between Ningbo City in China and the parish of St. Patrick, establishing a sister relationship that has already begun to bear fruit. There was a cultural troupe from Ningbo City in Grenada, in St. Patrick, a couple of months ago. We were able to get a brand new custom-built ambulance donated to the people of St. Patrick.
Wonderful.
And most recently, just last week, in fact, we had the handing over ceremony of some water pumps, chainsaws, and other equipment that will go a long way towards assisting the farmers, the agricultural community in St. Patrick, both east and west. So Brother Cornwall and I, we have been working with and for the people of St. Patrick, and we're quite confident that they are seeing the fruit of our labor and of our collaboration with them, and the support is growing, and we just wish to encourage people. Sometimes you have to be a little patient. Rome was not built in a day, but we are working with you, and together we'll take St. Patrick to the top, not only on the map.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine if you had 20 years in office, what would you have done?
We won't need 20 years to do what we have to do to transform St. Patrick. I can tell you that. We won't need 20
Well,
years.
certainly the whole of Grenada, Carriacou and Pitimartinique
Exactly.
would have felt the impact.
Yeah, and people have to realize that there are some pretenders now coming to promise pie in the sky. Now, if you could not do something, you had countless opportunities to do something. 29 years. I don't know what difference 5 more years would make if you couldn't do it in 29 years, you know.
Exactly.
So I think we just have to keep pushing forward. At this point, we cannot afford to be turning back. There is no turning back.
Absolutely.
We're going forward, moving forward.
Yeah. Forward
All the time, all
Absolutely.
the time, Terry. Yeah.
Well, we have certainly run out of time, and let me invite you once again to give your closing remarks.
So thanks once again for hosting me on the program. It's been a little while since I was here, and I really enjoyed the conversation with you. And we just want to let the public, particularly the people of St. Patrick, West and East, know that your MP or your MPs are working with you, working for you. One of the biggest problems we face in that parish is the housing situation, and we are exploring every angle to ensure that as many people as possible have a decent place to lay their heads in. And we're asking you to work with us. If you can afford to pay a little something, exercise that option. It will come through a lot faster than waiting for the one where you may not have to pay back directly, because the demand on that one is so great that it would make more sense for you to use some of your resources. People have even been saying to me, if we get the material, we can do self-help, we can, you know, so people are really wanting to help themselves, and this is what we want to encourage. When we see people making an effort, it gives you an extra zeal to get involved to help them. If you're driving and you see a man sitting down there waiting for a ride, and you look up the road, you see another man walking, I think you're more likely to give the one who is making an effort to advance a ride than the one who just sit down there waiting, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely so indeed. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, and join us again when you wish to give an update to the nation as to the great works being done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development.
Okay, thank you, Terry, and thank you, listeners. And I do wish everyone a really happy, enjoyable, restful rest of the Sunday, and an energized and productive week coming up.
Fantastic. And the cruise again is on when?
June 14th, the day
June
that's an
14th.
excellent Father's Day present for your dads or for the fathers to be.
Yes, indeed. Fantastic.
Right.
So remember that, June 14th. And for those of you who are out in Munich, please remember that the Munich T12 cricket match is taking place this afternoon out in the Munich playing field. And there are lights there now, so come on out this afternoon and be part of the T12 cricket match out in Munich. Well, thank you for joining us. We've had this morning, this afternoon, the first guest was Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas. And now, Minister, we thank you for joining the Heartbeat. And to all those of you who joined the Heartbeat today, we say thank you very much, and join us again next Sunday when we will have equally interesting dialogue with several guests. Thank you, and have a great Sunday afternoon. Goodbye.
Get in here, get in here, get in here, people. Where are we going the 1st of June? This is this Sunday. We are heading across to Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever hosted in St. Andrews. So we're talking from 11 to 3:30 p.m. we will be having lovely cricket. So come out in your numbers to Munich playing field for the biggest cricket tournament ever. Come out and support the bars. Come out and support the cricketers. Come out with your families. Come out with your friends, because we are inside Munich for the biggest cricket tournament ever.